presentation for UDOT snowplow fleet. We have here a couple of very fine presenters. We have Tim Ulerich. He works for me. I'm Lloyd Neely at Central Maintenance Division. Tim is wearing a collar. Look at that, and he has a haircut. Oh. You'll need to congratulate him on that when you get a minute. Yeah,
I have 2 polo shirts.
Wore the other one yesterday. Anyway, Tim has been our leader as far as getting our AVL program going for UDOT in conjunction with Jeff and Rod over in the equipment ops area. So he's going to talk a little bit about the acquisition here. And then we also have Dawn Saunders from Verizon. She's a government account manager with Verizon Network Fleet. She serves the public sector and is currently helping fleet managers from Caltrans to UDOT to West Jordan City to make more informed decisions about the operations of their fleet. And I believe we're also going to hear a little bit from Chuck Felice, who's going to help with some of the presentation. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Tim.
This is one of the best looking audiences I've ever had here, so.
Thank you.
No, I appreciate, well, it just went downgraded right there, but no, I appreciate everybody coming here. I'm gonna try to get into this really quick because part of the important part of this is gonna be what Dawn's showing us, because she's showing us how, for the state employees that are gonna be into the system, how to use it, what things are out there. What I'm gonna talk briefly about is just how we got to this point. So, they're re-releasing the vacation video, and I just thought I'd throw that in there because I love that part of the state. And had Chevy Chase actually got stranded, he could have called over to the Bluff station and figured out who was there at his thing. So it was 1983 when that movie came out, and I was kind of feeling bad as I scratched my head that's missing a lot of hair as I get older and realized that was 32 years ago, and I was probably Rusty's age back then. So. Why AVL on snowplows? This has kind of been a technology that's been coming, been used a lot in the private sector. And so now we're kind of, as everybody's aware, we're always getting phone calls as to like, why didn't you plow my area? I've never seen a snowplow. You didn't do your job. Hey, your plow broke my window. We get a whole variety of questions. And this is kind of one of the tools we're going to try to use to help answer that. And so some of the benefits that, there's a lot of things out here. We're learning as we get going with this, but some of the benefits we initially seen was coordination with public safety. And so now the Department of Public Safety will have our plow truck locations. They're not going to be having to call to find out where we're at. They can get in there and see. We haven't done that integration yet with them, but we will. Public interface, transparency, everybody's familiar with that term, so we're all kind of heading that way. Everybody wants to know we're out doing our job. Legal support, somebody broke my windshield with a snowplow. We can go back and see if there was a plow in the area or if there wasn't. We can kind of go back and look at things from that standpoint. Truck diagnostics, Jeff's going to talk a little bit about some of the benefits we're already seeing with the diagnostic side. Fleet management, being able to keep track of your fleet, what's going on with it from an equipment maintenance perspective, but also finding your equipment. Jeff's going to talk a little bit about some things like that. Storm and event management. We really haven't kind of figured out how to integrate with, I'm looking forward to kind of the post-processing side of things. Look at a storm, how it comes in, what type of event we had, how do we respond to it. Some of the interesting things we're trying to do here in Central with Kevin is trying to look at the winter road weather index, trying to figure out how to do snow logs without actually having to do paper. Let the truck tell us what we were out doing, let the weather stations tell us what the weather was like, and the road conditions, and maybe if we put the two together, we can actually paint a better picture of how well we actually are doing. Equipment and material studies, now you actually know how many miles you may have put on a Joma blade, for example, if you want to say, this truck has this particular piece of equipment, how's it performing? Again, snow logs and others. So anyway, we issued an RFI back in April of 2014. We had 18 companies respond. AVL can be not just where's my truck, but it can be everything from reading the onboard diagnostics to reading the equipment. You got your Force America controllers. A lot of that input could have been read. we started looking at this, we got responses back, and you could buy everything from what we called the Cadillac to the Pinto. We could have bought something that was so expensive we couldn't afford to implement it statewide. We could have stepped back and said, hey, let's just look at the core things we need to know and what would help us present to the public, and that was just basic AVL. As we got going through this, we realized there was talked to statewide man. We ended up realizing that every carrier, every system out there required to either have a satellite or a cellular connection to get the data back. That's when we started looking at the Verizon system, started realizing that what the other systems were charging to connect to Verizon was almost what the Verizon system would cost straight up front. So that's when we decided to maybe step back and look at that system a little bit more intently. So we ended up trying to buy off the GSA contract, that's the federal government. Got told we couldn't buy that. That was a screaming deal, would have been a great deal for us. But we ended up buying off the Western States Cooperative, or can't remember what it stands for. Western States Contracting Alliance. It was a 15-state Western states that got together and said, hey, we want to be able to pool our purchasing power, so if a state initiates a contract, the other 15 can adopt it if they want to. In this particular case, Verizon has already been adopted by UDOT, and that's where a lot of our cell phones come from, your iPads, if anybody's got an iPad. Those type of things are already under contract, and that's the same contract we ended up issuing a purchase order. So we really didn't have to go through the entire RFP process once we found something we wanted. So we did a pilot test project about a year ago that ran from December through the first of the year. We had 40 trucks on the Wasatch Front. That was kind of Verizon offered that as a no-cost pilot to see if we even wanted to continue with the system. After seeing it, looking at the price, we decided to go ahead and pull the trigger. And so I'm going to let Jeff take over for a couple slides here, and then we want to get Don in here and talk about stuff, and we'll pick up some questions after, but he's got some points he wants to make.
Okay, so we started the installs in May, and we ended in October. It's pretty hard to get all the way around the state. There was a crew, I think, of like 3 or 4 guys that did the entire install. So it took quite a while, but they're all up and running now. We put about 524 GPS units on. Our fleet typically is 500, and we use about 24 to 30 temporary vehicles that have already been traded for as spares throughout the winter. Also, Jake Brown and Larry Lamberis wanted to put some on some graders and vectors to try and prove some of their usage. I guess they were getting questioned on it, or maybe they could use it as a catapult to get more equipment like that if they show more usage on it. We did install 3 asset trackers in Ogden. We put them on 2 skid steers and I want to say a backhoe. And Kelly Andrews said in the old days he'd have to call the last shed that he thought had that backhoe or that skid steer and keep calling till he would find it. Now he can log into this Verizon website and it pings once a day and he can tell them exactly where it's at. And it helps speeds up the process of finding some of that shared equipment. 10 of the trucks will have plow up-down switches, and kind of the thought behind that is if a plow's, we are looking at it on GPS when we're looking at the breadcrumb trail. Right now we can't really tell if you're plowing or not plowing, or if it's snowing or not snowing. You might be pre-treating or just inspecting your roads. So we're going to kind of assume on these 10 trucks throughout the winter with the shed's feedback, if the plow is down, there's actually snow on the road and they're actually trying to do snow removal operations. So we'll see how that works. Maybe it'll go statewide. We'll have to see how it goes. The goal for equipment for this, so our GOMB goal is we got to have the trucks up, 90% of the trucks during the snow season. So from October to May. And what the benefit we're seeing now is like when you call us and say, okay, our plow truck is down, we can actually log on to Verizon's website and it will read us the trouble codes right off your truck. So Troy Starley, the Region 2 shop foreman yesterday, got a call from a guy clear out by Wendover. All the mechanics were in the valley here, and the guy said, I'm stopped, my trouble light's on in my truck, and Troy looked it up before he sent anybody out there. It turned out it was a speed sensor. He told him just keep driving and we'll fix it later. So we're trying to look at it as maybe before we take trips out to places like that, we'll look up on the website what's wrong with your truck, and we can have a heads up before we go out there. Possibly save a trip, or, you know, it's hard to go out in Wendover, diagnose it, come back in, get parts, go back out, and put the parts on. So it might save some time. And then Tim wanted me to show you, if you see that in your trucks, that's what the actual unit looks like. That supposedly they hid it behind the dash somewhere, but if you come across it. Other than that, I think we'll turn over to Dawn.
All right, I'm Dawn with Verizon. I work in the GPS division, and we are excited to work with UDOT. We're working with several states across the United States as this industry takes off. And so the slides that I'm going to go through is really just going to lay the foundation, just a few slides, of where this technology is going. I know there's a big concern about Big Brother, why are you tracking me? But this industry as a whole is getting ready to double in size in the next 3 to 4 years. And there's a reason behind that. The return on investment, the case studies, the stories getting out there are spreading. And most of the fleet associations events that you'll go to, there's somebody speaking about the benefits from reducing operational costs to lowering the impact to the environment because you're reducing idling and speeding. There's a safety factor as well, because now you can coach your drivers if they are speeding. And we're typically talking about the larger fleet, the light duty fleet, but also that comes to, it could apply to the snow plows that are currently being used. If they're going at a certain speed and that driver needs to be coached, there's an opportunity there. But also meeting regulatory requirements behind your fleet. So the stories are out there, the return on investment. Jeff spoke to a couple of those just related to maintenance. But I'm also going to show you some savings behind the GPS. If you could click again. So basically, I'm going to demo the portal, and you're going to see dots on a map, basically. So when you log in, those dots represent the various vehicles. Go ahead. And that information updates every 2 minutes. We can drill down to a minute, 45 seconds, 30 seconds. In fact, during the snow season, you guys are going to update to 30 seconds. So you can see the pings and the different turns that they're going to make. But keep going. And that information transmits over the Verizon airwaves. We're collecting data in that box that you just saw. We need the Verizon airwaves to get back to the portal so you can see this information. Go ahead. So when you look at GPS, the savings behind just GPS alone, because our two main solutions are GPS and the diagnostics, is around driver behavior related to hard braking, hard acceleration, idling, speeding. All those are inefficient driving. Go ahead. And that affects your bottom line as far as fuel cost savings. So the industry average as far as when you implement a GPS program is you can expect 10 to 25% in fuel cost savings just on coaching your drivers around idling and speeding. The other things that come with GPS, because the bottom line is the managers now have information to work with. Go ahead. And so not only are they coaching their drivers to help with safer driving, keep going, but now you can look at quicker response times. Jeff spoke to quicker response times potentially to handle a maintenance issue, have a part ready when you go out there, but also to fulfill keep going back.
I'm new at this.
But also what you could do is if you get a call in and says, hey, you've got a reactive situation, you need to get a snowplow out to a certain situation, you can now dispatch the closest vehicle. This vehicle number 2 is closer than vehicle number 1, and you've got a quicker response time. So you could ultimately make your customers out there that are calling in a lot happier because of this. But because you're also dispatching the closest vehicle, you're also talking about reducing miles driven, reducing fuel driven. And those heavy duty, those snowplows, that can be an expensive cost. Your managers are also going to have better data about what's happening out in the field, that how the snowplows are being used, and eventually, as this is maybe considered on the rest of the fleet, you can understand if you're visiting a site more often than another site and manage your fleet accordingly. The great thing about fleet management is we also have fleet utilization. You can see how your vehicles are being used. Caltrans, for example, is looking at reducing their fleet because they can see which vehicles are not being used. So you're talking about a cost savings there. Caltrans actually is projecting $2.5 million in fuel savings just on around coaching their drivers around reducing speeding and idling. State of Delaware saved just over $2 million in fleet reduction. State of Arkansas, just over $2 million in fuel reduction. So these case studies are getting out, lots of opportunity, and that's why this industry is going to go from 30% to 60% penetration in the next 3 to 4 years. Okay, so diagnostics, again, Jeff touched on this. Go ahead, just go through the, okay, stop. Okay, so our unit is plugged into your ECM. You get that check engine light to go off. In this case, it's the brake light. You can get an immediate alert, whoever is deemed to get that alert, and you can get a brief description of what that is and decide whether you should bring this vehicle in, immediately. Should the vehicle be pulled over? And by the way, I've already heard stories, not with UDOT, but with a snowplow, where if they drove another foot, that engine would have to be replaced. So you're talking about a big savings as far as not having to replace an engine related to a snowplow. So big opportunity there. So a lot of one-off stories with diagnostics. We do have a fleet manager that says he no longer replaces Cadillac converters because he addresses those DTC codes in a timely fashion. So the point is you have line of sight to what's happening out in the field related to those diagnostics. Go ahead. Okay, so I mentioned it's easy, keep going all the way. It's easy to install, but ultimately what makes this easy so you're not sitting here staring at a portal at a map on your computer is we have automated alerts and reports that can be automatically sent to you. You don't have to keep recreating the wheel looking for that information. You can pick 2 or 3 reports to come to you daily, weekly, or monthly, and you can choose to manage it accordingly. Maybe you want an idling report or activity detail to understand where your snowplows were going. So as I mentioned, the activity alerts, diagnostic codes are one of those alerts. Also, if you wanted to monitor speeding, we have about 10 different idling. If you want to be notified anytime vehicles idling over 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you deem is important. You can also get an alert if a vehicle's driven past a certain hour, 6 p.m., 7 p.m. That could be indicative of a vehicle being stolen. Caltrans has already recovered 6 vehicles so far using the GPS, so it's been, cost savings there as well. And you can get those alerts as soon as they happen via text or email. The reports is really my favorite, just because it's a way to really get a summarization of what's happening in your fleet. You can keep going all the way. And I'll show you some of those reports here in the portal in just a second. But also what's key is you can set up landmarks and geofences. Again, this is a great feature so you don't have to sit and stare at a map. You can mark common locations that you go to and get notified whether they go into a certain site or leave a certain area. You can also geofence a certain region, maybe that you're in charge of, and be notified if a snowplow leaves that area. And again, that can come via text or email. We do have free roadside assistance, so not only can we locate you between mile markers when there's no address, but we can send out our Allstate partner, and they tow light and heavy duty as part of the program. It can be used up to 4 times a year. Keep going. Another big piece is our ability to integrate. We have an open API. We can set up a data feed. Right now, UDOT with the snowplows is looking at integrating into their GIS and their weather system to collectively see the snowplows in conjunction with the weather, and there's more to come. This could actually be something your customers could see on the GIS map. And GPS is always, it's technology, so we're always evolving. We're always pushing new feature and functionality, and we're part of the Verizon brand, so you can expect to see, more functionality coming out of this as we move on. So we'll go ahead and log into the portal.
While she gets logged in, take a couple questions just so we fill the time. Has anybody got any questions so far about this?
If it's in an area where there's no Verizon coverage, does it save the data?
Store and forward. So if you're in like a lot of parts of southeastern Utah, or actually there's quite a few places in Utah in general that don't have cell service, it's going to do what they call store and forward. It's going to keep track of all the data that it's collected. As soon as it hits the cellular network again, it'll dump it back into the system. GPS or satellite GPS?
Satellite GPS.
I think we want it to be at the station. I think you can set it up to get reports individually at a station level. When she talks about management, in my mind, it's actually the station foreman that I'm wanting to have them keep track of their vehicles. For us to desk jockey this whole thing from the central complex would be kind of funny, but
That's not the intent. We want to push this information down to the station level.
it's really we want the stations to kind of take this and use it to show us best case, the best way to use it and implement it. Like, Jeff's brought up a lot of ways that the mechanics are already using it. He's brought up a lot of examples of the way some of our equipment managers are using it. We still expect to see some of our stations come up with innovative ways to either share equipment or, talk to their adjacent and area supervisor like Kevin might, be able to find something innovative to, he's really optimistic over there about the whole thing. So, no, it's all good, but yeah, the intent is really from my perspective, I want to see the stations make this a tool for them. For us, we are getting some stuff back that ends up on the governor's, the governor's office of, Office of Management and Budget. This is, if anybody's ever seen me go down at Region 4, you'll understand a lot of what we have to do as a department is start marketing what we do. If you want money, you got to go out and tell your story. And this is one of the huge tools that's going to allow us to start telling our story. I've got to be able to market if I want better equipment. I've got to be able to market if we want to have our budgets different. This is kind of going to be the thing that's going to help me paint that picture, if that makes sense. I know a lot of people think it's just Big Brother watching. Think of me as your big brother and I'll be watching. So, but not for the reasons you think about it. So,
It can catch you, but it can protect you. That's the bottom line. That's the stories we hear. So, most of you are good people, right? Doing the right thing. Okay, so up here is the portal. You saw that I logged in, and that's basically what you would do. Our site is pretty intuitive. That's the story that we hear from our customers. You've got these headings that you can go into and do what you need to do. The reports I'm going to show you here in a second. Admin from creating groups. And by the way, we can match your hierarchy. We can create all the subgroups that you need, as many hierarchy and subgroups that you need. So if you have a supervisor that just manages, 5 vehicles, he can be under Region 1. He can have his own access to his own vehicles and have his own specific login privileges. So right now we're in the map overview. And if you've ever played with Google Maps, we're actually using TomTom, but for your own personal, we've got dots and squares. So the green means go. This green dot means this vehicle is currently moving. Yeah.
just one thing really quick. Nicole that works for Jeff is actually going to administer passwords and logins. So if you need to talk, it's Nicole Godfrey. If you guys have any questions, email me and I'll be more than happy to kick you over there and have her set you up. The other thing is if you guys need help with any of this and you want training on this, don't hesitate. You don't need to remember this all right now. But they do have a really good support section she might talk about. But I wanted to let you know you can get your login and stuff through Nicole. And then if you guys need any custom help or you guys want to explore this and get trained, more than happy to come out and help you guys with it. So.
Yeah, we can also do a departmental specific WebEx training for you guys.
Webinars and all kinds of stuff for them. So.
Yeah, this training center under support training center. There's also, you can log into our standard live WebExes for our most popular subject matter. We also have YouTube videos on specific features that are great, 2 to 4 minutes that you can look into this. But otherwise, again, our site is pretty intuitive. You're going to figure stuff out on your own, whether you had training or not. You just have to get in there and play with it. So we were in the overview map. So we have dots and squares. The green means go, the vehicle's moving. I could hover over it and get some basic information on that particular vehicle if I wanted to, where they are, odometer reading, and address. Red means stop, the vehicle's parked, and blue means idling. And someone had a question about if they go out of the cell coverage, that's when this little triangle, yellow triangle pops up. And that'll be the last known area they were in, but as soon as they come back, all that information of even where they were out of cell coverage will be captured, so you can see what they did out of cell coverage range. To the left, we also have the vehicles. You can go, if you want to go specifically to a vehicle and see what was going on, you got a call, you just want to see, if they hit that particular neighborhood that somebody's complaining about, or there was a call in. So basically, you can go to the track vehicle feature as well as click on the left here. You can also get to the track vehicle, and we can track. Okay. So we can. Let me move over here. We can see this last 5 locations that this vehicle was at. In this case, he hasn't done much. There's 2 locations he was at. We can also look at tracking specifically what he did this morning. Again, just understanding what had transpired this morning. Maybe someone called and said, you hit my car as the snowplow was going by. You can see if indeed you were at that location.
I think we have these cataloged by station, don't we, Jeff? Yeah. So you can kind of refine the list to your station.
And again, you can create a login specific to your group of vehicles that you're watching, so you don't have to see the entire fleet if you don't want to. Okay. So not only can you see where they are specific here, it'll be every 2-minute ping. Unfortunately, it looks like this sample, he only had 1 trip that was 2 minutes and 49 seconds, so we're not going to have much. And he basically idled for a little bit and parked again. In a normal trip circumstance, you'd see several dots going along the road to show you each 2-minute ping and give you an idea of their route. Also down below is the reportable format of this, what they call a breadcrumb trail, every 2-minute ping. And it'll give you every address they were at each 2-minute. And as you move it to 30 seconds, you'll have every 30-second dot or address as to where they were. And this reportable format can also be found over here in the reports. It's here that you can run, and this is where you can automate much of the process. We have about 23 different reports here. And again, that breadcrumb trail is also known as the activity detail report. So if you needed, to prove a case, a liability case, prove that none of your snowplows were in that area, you could use this report right here. Again, you can automate that or just pull it one time if you want for a specific case. Different reports we also have is maybe begin and end of day. Allows you to see when the day, if your employees, it's indicative of them turning on a key, is the start of their day, because and then they end their day by turning it off. This would be a good report to see in general how your fleet, are they starting at 8, 9, how is that working in the context of operational requirements. and you as a manager are now getting more information to help create efficiencies around how you operate your day. Another report that comes up is the stop detail report. Stop detail can be part of a job, maybe, a particular stop if possible. Otherwise, we can look at geofences. I mentioned creating certain areas.
Yeah, an important one that we're probably going to be watching, not because I want to know what you're doing, but idle time's pretty relevant with your new trucks because using that diesel fluid, they can plug up the truck. So keeping track of your idle time is going to be important, not just from what are you doing with the idle, but it's also kind of adding maintenance to your truck. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a government mandate.
So reducing fuel maintenance as well as emissions. We also have an emissions report, and so as you reduce idling and you show this, you can also show a reduction in emissions, which is a big initiative out here. So I was going to just run quickly an idle time report to show you a sample. I can set the parameters, whether it be 5 minutes or what have you. I'm just going to go ahead and get it all, see all the idling that's going on.
What's our idle
it's
goal,
too big.
Jeff? I think
Ideally less than 30%. I
So-
mean, I'd like to see it down in the 10 to 15 if possible, but 30's about the highest we want.
so. He said 30 is our highest that we're looking for idle time. That's kind of our goal, but we'd like to get it down a little bit lower.
Okay. The report was too big. It wanted to email that to me. Okay, so here's a sample we're doing Region 1, and here's a sample report. So right here, you can zoom right into idle percentage. This is just a day's worth of idling, and I can sort from highest to ascending to descending. And you can see some vehicles that were idling 100% of the time, but again, we're talking about 10 minutes, 5 minutes total operating time. I just pulled it for today so far. And if you look further down, so you can decide right off the bat by sorting these. I want to go after all of these 20% or more. It's up to you. And you can look at, okay, their total operating time was 1 hour and 18 minutes. They idled 31% of the time, and decide, how you're going to manage that. And by the way, we have a lot of government best practices, feedback from our customers, and how to manage through this. Your conversation with your employee does not have to be disciplinary. In most cases, it's coachable opportunities in the sense of helping them recognize what, again, reiterating your goals. We're here to reduce our fuel by 15% this year, and we're using GPS as a mechanism. We notice you're idling or speeding. There's a way to just reminding them. Most people, even with the GPS unit installed, will reduce what needs to be done. And you can get a lot accomplished as far as return on investment just by reducing idling, speeding, and affecting fuel consumption. So here, once I decide this is a report I want to see, actually it's a two-step process. So I don't have to keep coming in here and recreating the wheel. I go in here and schedule the report, hit that tab, and I decide whether I want this daily, weekly, or monthly. Say weekly, I can pick the format. We were in HTML. Excel, if you want to sort more, I can add my email, uncheck Tim. I know he doesn't want it as the administrator. I'll put my email, and then I can add what other supervisors I think would benefit from this report as well. Just go ahead and create it for them. There is the safety report. I'm just going to show you a couple more reports, and we'll be done here. And feel free to ask questions along the way. So safety, that has to do with, basically you have a selection of, to select speeding, hard braking, hard acceleration, or all violations. You can do a particular vehicle or a group. We're sticking with Region 1. Sorry, guys. Any Region 1 people in here? You're not. You're incognito. Okay. So for the speeding threshold, I can do threshold, maybe anybody going over 50 miles an hour, because none of the snowplows should go any faster than that. Or you can do posted speed, and you can set that threshold 5 or 10 miles, 15, whatever you deem. You can also adjust this sliding scale for braking threshold. Right now, this is set for most light duty. You should adjust it for heavy duty. We hit submit. Okay, so up pops the report. We have a total of violations here, 3, 20, 27, 12. We'll open this up. Looks like they're all speeding. Okay, so the posted speed, for example, is showing 40. It's going 60, and this is the area to which they were. You can click on the icon here to understand where they were visually. Some rumbling there, huh?
I think that's Kevin's truck.
It's okay.
Question on the speed, posted speed, where's that pulled from? So we had a system with another group, and sometimes that speed they have is posted is incorrect.
That's true.
So it pull off, like,
Yeah.
right next
Yep.
to the freeway, that's 40, you're going down the freeway.
Yeah, it will. So there are nuances, which is why we have this icon for a number of reasons, but it allows you to check, hey, are they going over overpass? Because, you know, when you're doing GPS, it's an area, 2.5 to 5 meters, so it may catch the road underneath. But generally, you know, if there's anybody that needs to be coached, you're going to see more pervasive problems, more than this one little nuance. And because most partners that are tracking posted speed have 25% of the posted speeds out there, which is basically most thoroughfares, highways and so forth. You're going to be accurate generally most of the time, but when you get into the smaller rural areas is where they're still updating on a regular basis. Okay. Okay. The other report is the fleet utilization report. And again, when I mentioned the state of Delaware reduced their fleet by 20%, saved just over $2 million on that. They did it through this report, and we actually customized this report according to their requests because vehicles are used differently, and there's different data points that you may want to look at to determine, emergency vehicle may have only been used once during that month, but that's the way that vehicle's used. Let me see. Change the group here. Stop picking on region 1. There we go. Okay, so we're looking at, so now you as a supervisor can have information about how your vehicle's being used throughout, let's say this is a month report, and it's common for most supervisors actually to get this fleet utilization monthly, just to see overall how their vehicles are being used. And again, I can sort this total engine hours in ascending or descending, and let's say you have all these vehicles, this is a month's report, and all these vehicles weren't used. Why? Where are they? What's going on? And again, you as a manager have data now to investigate and figure out and fix it. And that's the point of this system. And in more the point, I know we talked about safety and idling and coaching, but really, ultimately, the bigger goal is the operational efficiencies and cost savings. Okay, I think that pretty much gives you a good idea of our solution. Any other questions or any report that you saw that you just had a question around? Again, these are the 23 different reports. I went over the most popular ones related to cost savings and safety and operational efficiencies.
I understand the public's gonna be able to see part of this eventually. What will they be able to see?
We're going to cover that here next with Chuck. He's going to,
I knew that, that's why I led
That was awesome. I like that, thanks.
And let's keep in mind too, what we're showing here is the power of the software, the capability that is before us right now. I mean, I'm not gonna be sitting in my office, and Tim's not gonna be sitting in his office, where he records whether or not you have sudden acceleration with your truck. That's not our responsibility. We really want to show you though, that the solution here is very powerful. Now, we're just entering into this for this year, and there's a lot of good things we can do with this information. Exactly what that is and how we're gonna do that right now for the future and what reports we're gonna really start focusing on, we don't necessarily know that yet. But we're already seeing benefit, a couple things, like Jeff saw had happened with a couple of our trucks that are newer, and we found out that the turbos were overheating because the heat exchange was cracked. And so basically, we saved a significant amount of money on repair on a truck because the ECM flashed that code and we were able to identify that. So as we move forward with this in the future, really this is a tool for the people of the regions and also to roll up for us to look at and see like picture, how do we be more efficient, how do we do things better? What are the pieces of this software we can utilize to make our operations better? So for what we got purchased here though is a great system for us to begin with AVL with.
That's a good looking cat right there. No, I think, my personal belief is I think that 95 to 99% of all of our employees do the right thing, not because they're getting paid a lot of money, because it's the right thing to do. There's a lot of self-pride in what we do. I hope that senior management doesn't use this as a tool to whack people over the head, but I think it's a tool, it's just a tool that has a lot of different avenues. Some can be looked at negatively, some can be looked at positively. In my opinion, I hope we look for the positives, we find them, and we use those to our advantage. So I mean, it really is a good thing, and I think in Central, we're trying to leverage the technology of automatic reporting of what we do. Like I said, to me, it's a marketing tool, and it's a way to automate reporting our snow logs and the situation out there.
Does that auto refresh? With that auto refreshing? Okay. Okay, so I work at the Traffic Operations Center, and what we do there is a little bit different. The website that Dawn showed you, which has so much functionality to it, is right now internal use only. So we wanted to get information to the public, and we do that a lot at the Traffic Operations Center. We had Verizon set up a web service for us, and we configured the payload to send us just speed data and coordinates. And there's a timestamp on there as well. So we know when a truck is out there and information is sent up to the satellite link to Verizon, they immediately send that down to us. And someone asked what happens when you're out of this coverage. We noticed, we fixed a little bug today in the software because we found that suddenly we had a whole bunch of data downloaded to us at once. That's because it was a store and forward. So we've taken care of that because what we track is where the vehicle's been in the last 6 minutes. We didn't want to have lines all over the map showing where this was. So this first website that I'm showing you, hopefully a lot of you maintenance people are familiar with this. It comes from our meteorologists at the Traffic Operations Center with statewide maintenance forecast for each maintenance shed. And what we've done is we've added a layer for the snowplows. And you notice that there aren't as many vehicles on here as what was on Dawn's website. Because what we've done is if the vehicle hasn't moved in a while, we don't show it on the map. We're interested in where the vehicle is showing. So if it's parked in a maintenance shed area, we don't care about that. So we know when it is stopped, when it is moved, and then we track it. So on here, if you start zooming in, you will begin to see, the problem we had with this being done so late in the day is a lot of these vehicles are probably parked. So on this one, you can see the vehicle is heading west, and that purple line is where it's been in the last 6 minutes. So that's what we show all over the map. So that is that one website. And now for the general public, on our UDOT traffic website, we've added you can find this 2 ways, under traffic, and you click on weather, and suddenly here are our vehicles again. Or you click on road weather, and the same thing shows up. But again, here's that same vehicle, and If I zoom in, sorry, I do better with the mouse. Again, you'll see where it's been. If I zoom in, you'll see it even further. So we want to, Tim mentioned at the start of this presentation that he doesn't want to have the public calling in and saying, where are the snowplows? And Lisa Miller, who is our travel information manager, gets a lot of these phone calls. So we're trying to head off a lot of these conversations by actually being able to show them on the map where these plows are. So we have these two ways you can see it on these two websites. And then also we have an app for the iPad, iPhone, and Android devices as well. And on that one, let me take this off. Show up? Okay, so on this one, we don't, this one may have updated a little bit quicker. We're not seeing as many plows anymore, and I don't know if because I've had this sitting. Let's try. But on here, if you click on the device, it will show you it's heading north and the timestamp. And there were a lot of plows down in southern Utah, and I hope someone hasn't messed with my server at the Operations Center. Yeah, it is 5 o'clock. Okay, here we have something way down here in southeastern Utah. So we have a plow here, and you can see, or a vehicle. It's traveling northeast, and that's where it's been in the last 6 minutes. And a lot of times you'll notice that sometimes they're not following the road as well. You can see here there's a little bit of a gap. That's because we're getting the data every 2 minutes. And I believe November 1st, you guys are going to step it up to 30 seconds. So that will smooth out the curves so the paths will follow the roadways much better. And that's how we're showing the public where these vehicles are. Any
All right,
questions?
any questions?
It's part of UDOT traffic.
That's just the traffic app we already have.
It's completed. We're just waiting for the okay to actually put it into production. If you downloaded the app now, you won't see this because it's still. Yep.
The reason we're doing that is with conversations we've had with some of the region directors and senior leadership is this was just developed. And so we want to kind of vet the data and make sure it's showing it the way we want it to the public to see it. So we're going to wait until we have a few storms, take a look at, make sure it's working properly, and then starting January 1st, we will actually turn this layer on and push it to the public. We're also going to do a media press release to let the public know this is available for them to look at. Hopefully we'll have Tim do that for us in front of the camera. But we'll let the public know, hey, you know what? This is available to you now. You can see where our trucks are during a storm event. And it was interesting, I had a phone call or a conversation with one of the region directors like, well, we really want to have the individual at our front desk have access to the Verizon site, which is fine. But my response was, why don't you just point them to the public-facing piece? Let's push them to what the information they can see. Instead of us having to tell them what's going on, let's make them learn how to use this and understand how to do it themselves. So this has been a good thing for us. Yes, Scott?
The public data, is it going to be active just during the snow season, or are you going to keep it on all year?
We'll keep it on all year. We'll report 30 seconds on the reporting time starting November 1st through probably about March 15th. And then we'll go back to the 2-minute.
John charges us way too much money for the 30-second reporting.
We'll renegotiate them. Other questions, guys?
Who still thinks this is Big Brother checking on you, or sort of?
It is.
It's
I-
it's a common fear. It's a common fear, and what happens is the stories get out about the savings. And over time, we even have a recording of an employee saying, look, I hated GPS at the beginning, I was worried, but it saved me on the side of the road, there's less breakdowns. And you'll see over time, with the stories that get out from UDOT, Jeff just shared it again about maintenance. But it's a common fear, but there's a reason this industry is doubling in size. It is too expensive a program to go after one bad egg. This program is being used for cost savings pervasively across lots of fleets, and it's going to keep on going. The stories are going to keep coming out. In fact, we're going to do a case study, right, Tim? Jeff, there you go.
Let me just ask this, Irvin, anybody else wants to chime in? When you do hear those concerns, how are you addressing those?
Well, I think it's just a matter of training, getting used to doing the whole website, and putting information's out there, and what it can be used for, and all. We need to train on the benefits of it. I can see it as a great tool myself. But as a plow driver, I don't think we're doing that. But that's the first thing you think is, okay, Big Brother's got out the hammer here.
Yeah, well, there are a number of things that, you know, we could say to maybe diffuse that fear. And, you know, one of them is that this is pervasive in the entire trucking industry, for example. And I really like it because when I order something off of Amazon, then I can click on a website and find out exactly where my package is. I don't care about the truck driver, I only care about the package. And I think our customers here in UDOT, in the state of Utah, they don't care where the truck driver is, they want to know where the plow is, you know. So that benefit far outweighs the,
It showed that,
yeah.
we had 20 violations, that was posted speed,
Yeah.
40, and you're doing 60.
yeah.
I mean, that's kind of information's gonna bother you as a driver. Absolutely.
I'll put it this way. The development of this in no way intent is Big Brother, okay? Does the capability in the software have us the ability to look at things we've never looked at before? Absolutely. My question to all of our maintenance people out there is this, though. If you're in a $250,000 piece of equipment and you're doing things you're not supposed to be doing, why are you doing it? I mean, honestly, come on. We have a responsibility to do things right, and like I said, 99% of the time, we do. But if you're taking a 10-wheeler and you're going to Wendover to gamble, you know what? Yep, we're gonna know about it. I'm sorry. We're gonna know about it. And are you most likely gonna get caught? Yeah, you will. It's about integrity, it's about doing the right thing. So, and here's the thing too, if somebody has sudden decelerations or speeding, don't view that as a hammer, view that as an opportunity to say, hey, you know what? We have a learning opportunity here. If that truck speeding probably raises his chance significantly more of him getting in an accident, throwing snow over a barrier, injury, loss of life as it relates to zero fatalities, etc. So don't view this as we're coming down on anybody with a hammer. You need to be looking at this information as we are taking this as a learning opportunity to be better, to be more efficient, and to analyze data to see what we can do even farther in the future to make UDOT, including our plow operations, smarter and more efficient. That's really what it is. But can it be used against you? Yeah. Be smart. It's very simple.
But it can also protect you.
Absolutely.
Flames.
I mean, numerous times, I remember when I was in Region 1, I got a phone call while this plow came by and threw snow and broke my windshield on my car. So you call up the station it was at, and it's like, well, we haven't been by there for 6 hours. And this guy said it happened 2 hours ago. This will help us vet that information if we are really responsible. If we are responsible, yeah, we should take the responsibility. But if we're not, we shouldn't.
I think our drivers are responsible, it's just a fear.
It is.
You know, they're not doing anything they shouldn't be, it's just, they're not really sure they're doing what they need to be doing, I guess. And so
Well,
it's
and the-
fear that there's someone that say, well, you don't need 5 plows over here.
Well, let's,
I would prefer, I can't speak for him, I prefer you manage your people, I don't want to.
absolutely. Here's the thing. Absolutely. At this level, absolutely not. We are not going to do that. The more information I can get down to an area supervisor, the more information I can get down to a station supervisor with GPS information and with our new snow and ice performance measure and the winter road weather index, gives you guys the abilities to make better decisions. Not me, not Tim, not Lloyd. At the station level, at the area supervisor level, that's where all this information needs to be managed at. It's us giving you tools to be more efficient, more successful. I can guarantee you, I'm not going to be looking at any reports or pulling up any reports from any station. I'm going to be looking where our trucks are. I'll probably see them when they're done as a learning opportunity. But that's it.
It was a great tool for me.
Yeah.
Because I get that same call. I haven't seen a truck on this road for 2 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every time I go through, there's never a snowplow.
Yep, absolutely. And when you can actually look back and say, well, you know what, that truck went by that location at this time, this many times that day. Yeah.
I think there's a lot to be learned, both upward, and we talk about speeding, but there's cases like Steve talked about that it's the software is not telling you the right. Don't just assume it's giving you a number, therefore it must be true.
Right.
That's why management has to happen in the field. Can't sit at a desk in the central complex and make a decision about the actual speeding. That's somebody out in the field. We'll probably see the summer graph showing one bar chart for so many people, so many violations statewide, so many not. That's all I care about, and that's up to, the regions to manage that data. Is it really a problem or not?
You know, I think when we implemented the 40 units in Region 2 last year, there was some of that apprehension, was it not, Kevin? But now Region 2 is telling us from their experience last year with this, they are really on board, and this is going to be a great tool for them. Granted, this year, you guys, we're taking a look at the data. We want to see what kind of data we're going to get out of this. And you know what? Is it going to be a little different next year? Yeah, it might be. We might implement something different in how we coordinate that information and that system back down to the station level. That's what it's about to us, though. The continued evolution of this process to make us better.
I'd like to see every area supervisor have an iPad in their truck where they can track this real time during the storm. There's things that we're growing into as we keep going with technology. It's just part of it. Bad sides to it and good sides to it. It's just hope, like I said, we learn from good and keep pushing on.
Absolutely.
You guys could have left a while ago, I think, so. 5:13. Oh, you still got 2 minutes. Let's wrap this out a little bit.
What else you want to know?
Any other questions on this? We're more than happy, like I said, we'd be more than happy to come out and help you with training. If you got any questions, don't hesitate to ask. If you find out that you are getting beat over the head unjustifiably, let me know. I'll go to bat for it. I don't have a problem. I'm a
Neither do I.
retired leader, so.
Shut up.
With the TOC's involvement, how's that gonna be? One of the concerns I've heard is that TOC is gonna be calling up the station supervisor and saying, send the truck
No,
here.
no. That is not the intent. We haven't figured out how the AVL piece and, these are things we're still talking about, the AVL piece and the snow and ice performance metric, the winter road weather index, how these two play together. Is it, we have an automated push system either on text or email or instant messaging that sends information to the station supervisor? Or do we have technicians that are sending this information out? It's not going to be a technician at the TOC calling up a truck or a station supervisor and saying, oh, guess what? You need to move your trucks over here. That decision-making needs to remain at the station level and the area supervisor level. That is not our role and should never be our role. We're not the ones out there doing the work. And I'll push for that until the day they fire me. That's what it takes. Because that is not how this should work.
This system won't replace human judgment, it won't replace eyes in the field. Those are two things I don't have the TOC to make that call. And I hope that nobody wants to take responsibility that way, because that's not gonna work. I can tell you that. Sooner or later, somebody will try that, I don't doubt that. So, we'll have to step.
I mean, are you going to get a phone call from a region director or something that says you need to send a truck here? Yeah, you are. It's going to happen. You're going to get a phone call from UHP that says, you know what, I need a truck over here? Yeah, it's going to happen. You're getting a phone call from Kevin? No, you're not. You're getting a phone call from the TOC? No, you're not. I want to give you guys information. I want to feed you information so you guys can make the best decisions. Look at it as a tool for you to make better decisions off of.
You guys need us to suspend Rick Ferguson's access to the system.
What else, guys? No, no, say it, say it.
No, I just, I think at a shed level, where I'm at, a lot of the guys that are in the sheds or whatever, they're afraid of, the traveling public dictating where and what we do. There's not gonna be ever, request a plow, click thing, type thing.
No. No, the public facing piece of this is just so that they can know where we've been and where we are. At this point in time, there is no intent to do anything else. To have the public having the public direct our resources is not a good idea. It never will be a good idea.
Along the lines of, dispatching.
What happened? Somebody passed.
What happened? Who is it?